Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 145 of Let's Play. And today we have Krystine and Shirin.
Hello.
Hi everyone.
Awesome. So this episode, we were wondering last time, are we going to get a resolution to the Charles and Ava dilemma? But sadly, we are not. However, it is all Monica, which is fantastic. So we can't complain. Actually, we all raise your hand if you love Monica.
Hands are raised.
Yeah, after this episode for sure. So we are recapping something from not season 3, and we're actually going to discuss it. We usually don't discuss the introduction, but we haven't discussed it yet. So what we start out with a previous interaction that Sam and Monica had, where Sam asks her about her date, quote unquote, with Charles, where she wasn't sure if it was a date. So Monica says, he went out of his way to play your game, asked you to dinner, just the two of you, and it isn't a date? And Sam's like, no. And she had, I have just one question for you, kiddo. You say it's not a date, but do you wish it was? So first of all, Monica, I mean, she has I think the attitude we all would have, where it's like, it's clearly a date.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I love how she's so sympathetic. Like she's very able to be very gentle with Sam, which is, something that is a little bit surprising coming from her, because she's externally seems a very, very, tough, and she is tough, and she does have a strong way of putting things, but she can be sensitive when she needs to be, which is such a great trait of hers.
Mm-hmm.
Like asking her that question, A, that's perceptive, B, that's forcing Sam to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she didn't have to go out of her way to be like, oh, is it a date? Like she could have just been like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she has, we discussed it on a previous episode as well. She just has this big sister energy in a way, and kind of what I wish that Angela and Vicky were doing for Sam. So I'm so happy that Sam has Monica in her life now, and she's finally back. I mean, not that much time has passed actually in the story, but for us it feels like we haven't seen her in a long time. But is this the date they're talking about? Is that the last interaction of season 2, where she ends up getting drunk?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think. To my memory.
I think they had didn't they have a small interaction where I think Sam was coming out of her apartment,
right, and she brushed past her.
Yeah, she was just like, wear whatever you want, hun.
Right. Yeah,
I think that was it.
Yeah, that was Monica being sad.
Yeah.
So now she asks her, do you like the guy? And Sam doesn't exactly answer up the question. She's like, well, he's gorgeous and probably the most handsome guy I've ever seen, which is actually the same thing, but okay.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, but, right? Because she knows, she hears the hesitation.
Yeah.
But I feel so awkward around him. He's really poised and charismatic. He always seems to know the right thing to do or say in any situation, which only makes me feel even more self-conscious when we're together. Not to mention, and she's fidgeting with her hands and her feet, not to mention he's totally out of my league. I mean, I'm basically an onion knight, and he's like a go-man raid boss. So what do you think of her self-perception and her comparison to Charles?
Well, he's just on a pedestal for her. I think in a way that she kind of maybe wishes she could be more like him, or at least takes his advice. And especially at this point in time, I guess there was much more of a strong boss and assistant dynamic between them. He had her do the affirmations. So yeah, I think she just felt really inferior to him, and not, even if she would want it to be a date, she kind of thinks there's no way it could ever be a date.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And just that imagery alone of an onion knight,
Do you know what an onion knight is? I don't know what an onion knight is, but I don't know.
I'm just picturing a little onion holding a shield and sword and being yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Onions are great. So onions are very, very useful in cooking. I mean, it's my number one spice. But anyway, putting that aside, so I have to say, I'm a big charm shipper, obviously. And that being said, I have been asking a lot of people that come on the co-host on the podcast what their end game is, and a couple of people, and I think maybe Laura was one of them. I might be wrong. She preferred Marshall because she felt that Sam and Charles, because of this dynamic where Charles is too much above her and Sam will never feel comfortable. She felt that Marshall was more on her level, more her speed, and that Sam could be more herself around him. So I don't want to ruin their ship because I like them together, but that is something that gives me pause.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same. I've been thinking about it too, because I'm like, I can't picture like Sam like doing like late night raids while Charles was just like, sitting there with his like cup of bourbon, just like, way to go, honey. Like I can't see it.
Yeah.
So like as much as I love Charles and Sam, like I do see like, okay, I see where, Sam and Marshall is like more agreeable.
I think he's a good learning moment. Like personally, I don't ship her with any of them. I said before, and I'm thinking kind of maybe they would all be learning moments in a different way, because Link was a learning moment too, big one. But we've been in this charm situation for a while now, which kind of deters me from this theory. But I feel like just like there's relationships for different parts of your life, and in my opinion, I think that's the case, that you can have like the right person for a period of your life. I feel like there's also ships for different part of a story. Like, I don't know if you guys read Lore Olympus, but when we had that like backstory of Hades and Hera, I was shipping them so hard. And I was like, no, like don't go be with Zeus, even though obviously I want Hades to be with Persephone. So Hera had to go with Zeus, but like in that frame, I could really ship them. And so I don't know if I want Sam and Charles to be endgame, but at the same time, right now, I want them to be healthy and communicative and like figuring things out in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very much. So okay, we'll see. And Monica laughed, said, "Oh my God, your analogies are worse than Marshall's." Which, if we're gonna point out comparisons, they both do that. And she's like, "Okay, so he's nice." And then she continues, "So he's nice to look at, smells great, and is a treat to listen to with his deep accented voice." These are all, not to be too down on this, they're all very superficial things.
Oh yeah.
They're not about Charles's personality or his brain, which is, I don't know if that's like she's choosing the things that most intimidate her because she's probably more equal to him in terms of the other things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because he's also very charming and polished, which she feels she isn't. But anywho. So yeah, smells great. Also, that, I mean, anybody can smell great with the right products and showers, but okay.
And showers.
And now she blushes and she's like, and it's fun to imagine what it would be like to, and we, harken back to, her getting intimate in her imagination with the cutout of Charles.
He looks so creepy in that cutout form.
I know, he does though.
He looks like a cat, I don't know.
And Monica's like, then make it a date, which again, I love it. She's very decisive. She's like, go for what you want. You're attracted to him, make it a date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So now we are back at the park, and Krystine, take it away.
All right. So we see Monica is like, oh, you'd look great with some waves in your hair too. It really zhuzhes up your look. And I'm like, Monica, please, like, not like necessarily like make over Sam, because I feel like that's like a whole superficial thing, but like, like suggest things, make her look pretty, like have like a girl spa day, like.
Yeah. Make her feel pretty too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I know people hate the like makeover trope, but like personally, I would kill for someone to sit me down and be like, this is how your skincare routine should be. Like I don't want to weed through like 57 YouTube videos to figure out what my skin needs. I want someone to sit down, be like, use these products, use them in this order at that time of day, and you'll feel so much better. Like, I need a @𝗕nica in my life.
Yes.
Right.
So before I went on my first couple of days with my husband, my friends was hilarious. I was living in a dorm at the time because I was in seminary, and all the girls, they're like, we're dressing you up. You need a makeover, because they're like, you don't dress nice. You don't take care of yourself. Because I truly was like a bitch back then. I just wore like t-shirts and long skirts, and I did not, no makeup, nothing. So they took me to the hairdresser. They gave me a haircut. They, took me shopping and bought me some clothes. And before I went out with him, they did my hair, they did my makeup. They, told me what to wear. I think gave him borrowed some outfits. And so that was the first 2 dates. And afterwards, I just went back to my usual stuff. But the irony is, of course, my husband is very, 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 very low maintenance when it comes to clothes. Like, he looks like a mess most of the time because he just can't be bothered. He's always in his head. So the irony is, I don't think it made much of a difference, but it's okay. I liked it.
It worked out in the end too, so.
Right. But it was fun. It was very nice. It was definitely a fun, like, girls' night, preparing for the date.
Like, I remember when, I don't know if it's a thing like everywhere, but when you become a senior in high school, you take like senior photos. I remember asking like my god sister, who like I adore, and she always had like beautiful makeup, and I was like, hey, can you like do my makeup for my picture? And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna do your hair, I'm gonna do everything. And like, as much as I like appreciate her work, when I saw those photos, I was like, that is not me. That is not me. And I'm like, but I mean, I appreciate the work, but I'm like, yeah, no, it's not.
Ow, cat, stop.
So I mean, it could go either way, but I mean, just have a spa day. How about a spa day?
Yeah.
No spa day.
Right. If, let's say, Monica gives her a makeover, maybe she'll choose to keep 1 or 2 things, not everything, but some.
And it doesn't mean you have to change your lifestyle. Like, it can also just be a fun adventure.
It's not
Try
like
that out.
Not like Devil Wears Prada, where all of a sudden like she's like glamorous just for a job. But okay. Anyway, Monica's like, do you mind if I join you? I've been on my feet all day. So I was like, no, not at all. Great. Monica's just like, here, hold on to Dina for a sec.
Yeah.
Oh, how I miss that derpy little dog.
It's so ugly.
Her look is hilarious. She's
so ugly. She's cute, but I love how like Marshall just like adores Dina. Like, calls her like the prettiest girl. I'm like, see, this is why they need to be together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Heart of gold.
Okay, Monica's like, damn, I'm be interviews and meetings since 5 a.m. and still need to record a video tonight. I'm gonna get bags in my eyes at this rate. I'm like, hustling. Girl is hustling.
Yeah.
I like that she says that, because sometimes people think that YouTubers or people who make their living off of social media like aren't working. And maybe that's the case for some people, but a lot of people like Monica are working like really long hours, and even more than regular 9-to-5 people. So I'm glad that that's acknowledged.
Especially those like daily vloggers. It's like they're working every day, like 24/7. Like,
people underestimate like video editing is so much work. So much work. It's incredible. Were any of you surprised that we saw Monica back in her like 𝗕𝗁𝗄𝗃 kitten get up?
Yeah, we talked about it last time, actually, in the last podcast that we saw.
I haven't listened yet.
Yeah, I was. Well, I already said my view, so I'm not going to repeat it. So, Krystine, you can.
I don't think so, because I mean, if she said she's been coming from like work and stuff, like it stands to reason why she would be it. Also, I feel like also because she's in public and she doesn't know who she'll run into. So even if it's at a dog park, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why I expected her to still look not 𝗕𝗁𝗃, but I don't know. I was just surprised, and I guess I also was like, when we first saw her without all of the glam, like that she had dyed her hair back to her natural color.
Well, she had a wig, but
Yeah, but I was like, oh, did she dye it again? But I guess she just probably wears like a pink wig.
Well, she said she bought a brown wig, so it looks like her hair was still pink.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry, it's been so long.
Yeah. I think, so I also was curious last time, and somebody suggested exactly what you said to Krystine, like, oh, maybe she was working, that's why she needed to do it. So that's confirmed now. So, but I wonder, right, if when she's not working, she'll be unglycified, right? If that's, but what I said last time was anyway, I had a discussion on it last time. I don't know if you want to get into it again. Like I had been surprised that she had unglycified to begin with, because I hadn't thought that she was using her appearance as an armor. I thought that she was just, confident in her looks, enjoying her looks, playing around with that. Like that was her hobby, that was her talent. And I didn't think that that was something where she needed to grow. Like I didn't think that, she was using it to hide from something or to be, afraid of something. So I was surprised that she took it off to begin with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, we'll see. I guess we'll see more of Monica and like what her aspiration is, like what her goal is for her growth.
Yeah, I hope so.
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice if she had like how some beauty gurus have that, like, oh, like removing my makeup for the night, or like my midnight routine, and then she finally like shows her bare face.
Yeah. But I kind of also just hope that Monica just gets to be unproblematic, like not for other characters, but just for herself. Because, everyone has this like arc going. I mean, Angela's obviously struggling with a lot. Now Vicky is as well. And like, obviously she's already struggling because the guy that like she was dating and clearly has feelings for is in a really tough situation. And I kind of just want Monica to like be allowed to love her job, to love her like appearance, and love, like you said, Mindy, like to just enjoy what she does and how she's doing it. Because I feel like so often this kind of character obviously either is like a bitch or something, which luckily she's not, or it's like, yeah, I know I live this kind of like superficial life, but actually I don't want it, or it's too much, it's overwhelming, it's not me, or whatever. And I would just be so happy if she's like, yeah, I'm super exhausted because I've been up since 5 a.m. and doing interviews and whatnot, but also I live for this. I live for working so and so many hours a day and all of these things. Like, it would make me happy if that's like the route it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I have to say, like, I know I used to be pretty judgmental of women who love to dress up, because I thought, like, the way I was raised, my mom is pretty simple. And she taught us, she was like, oh, if you're putting too much emphasis on the outside, that means that your inside is not developed. That means that, if you're very into makeup, obviously you're not smart and you don't like reading books, and like you're not kind and you don't do things to help others. And as I got older, I learned that that wasn't the case. Like you could do both. You could be very into makeup and fashion and wear high heels and long hair and nails and still be, smart / kind. So yeah, I don't necessarily, I agree. Like I don't necessarily think it's a good message to say, oh, every time you like to, develop your outside, that means that there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
But we'll see.
We shall see. And then, so going back, Monica's like, so how have you been? Did you go on a date with that guy you liked? And Sam's like, yeah, I did, but I just don't think it was a date.
Mm-hmm. Girl, really?
I know.
We're just laughing.
The Nile's a big river. Let's see. And Monica's like, really? Because I love fighter you're sporting says otherwise.
Yeah. So glad she called her out on that. It was like, Sam, he was all up in your everything. Like, it was a dirt.
He was on top of you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Literally.
What will it take for her to accept that he likes her?
It's like all those memes. It's like when the protagonist like confesses to the other character. It's like, oh, as a friend. Or it's like, no.
I'm like the total opposite. If I like walk down the street and some guy like turns his head, I'm like, he has a crush on me, he loves me, he wants to marry me. You know, like I'm like so the
yes,
opposite
I know
way.
I'm fabulous. Sorry, I'm sleeping.
Right?
Mindy comes home, she's like, well, everyone wants a piece of this. You're so lucky.
I really am like that, by the way.
The mailman smiled. He might as well have proposed.
Right? I recognize intellectually I may be taking it too far in the other direction, but what can I say? My mom raised me with confidence.
That's good. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so like when Monica calls her out, of course Sam's just like just so embarrassed, and Monica's like, why are you embarrassed? Because you know what happened. So isn't it considered trashy, hickeys? And Michael's like, yeah, totally, but who fucking cares?
Preach.
Yes, thank you.
I know. Exactly. It's like, you're a woman, hun. If there's any hint about you that suggests you're sexually active, society will always think it's wrong. People will think you're a slut if you're putting out, and you must be some kind of a bitch if you're not, or a shrewd, or some other demeaning term.
Wow, I love Monica.
I know.
This is like fantastic. Oh, it's amazing. It's like,
I know, like
gold.
it's so true. It's like, if a girl's just like putting out, it's just like, oh, she's a slut, she's a whore. It's like, why can't she just be like feeling her own? Like, why can't she just be dressing up for herself? It's like, I'm not doing it for a band, I'm doing it for myself.
What do you want? Come at me. No, I love that.
Yeah, and then it's like, if you're not, then it's like, that's her own business. Like, hate men sometimes. Let's see. And Monica's like, you can't make people happy, so just worry about yourself and have some fun. It's just like a wink. Like,
I feel like I want to put Monica's words should be like on like
I know,
a sign
everywhere.
or something like this is like these are words to live by. You can't make it. It's so true. You cannot make everyone happy.
I'm still like going through that. I'm like, okay, because I've always been kind of like a people pleaser. But like, I'm getting to that point where now I'm like, okay, like, you can't please everyone, so just be happy with what you decide.
No, absolutely. I think I'm really happy that this was included. I know we always come across, or like, I read that terrible Instagram account, Webtoon Opinions, where people just like throw so much hate. It makes me so mad sometimes. But so often,
kind of like, like when you hate read something, some of them are okay, but some of them are like, it's kind of funny.
I know, and they're so repetitive. But sometimes I still read it, and then I'm stupid and I go in the comments, and I hate it when people are like, oh, the author needs to be aware that 12-year-olds are reading this and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I get it, but also that's not an author's responsibility to control your audience. Right? Like, you can always have intentions, but the audience might always take it differently anyway. But that being said, I do appreciate that this is in here, because it's not, it doesn't feel random. It's not like, by the way, if you're a child or like a teenager and you're engaging in whatever, be careful. It actually makes sense, because Sam needs to hear these things. Like, she has never encountered moments like that before. She has never had anyone teach her about this. Like, her mom seems great, but I'm not getting the vibe that they had a lot of one-on-one time, or that her mom like gave her these things on the way. Clearly her super protective father has not, and her brother seems to be like a bit similar to the dad. So I think Sam would maybe just only know kind of the more mainstream opinions of these kind of things. And for her, it's really important, like, to have somebody say like, yeah, it's supposedly trashy to have a hickey on your neck, but also it doesn't matter. Like, be trashy if you want to be trashy. And if you don't, just have, make it a little bit more fun and sexy and have it somewhere hidden. But like, as a woman, you are going to be attacked no matter what. And it just feels really organic for Monica to be saying it to her. And so I appreciate that like lesson is in there, you know, because even those of us who actually know, like, we need a reminder sometimes because it gets to you after a while, you know, traversing the web and being confronted by people's opinions and double standards and everything. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've said this a lot on the Midnight Poppy Land podcast, but you know, seeing sexuality being talked about so openly and unabashedly in webtoons has really made me more comfortable, even though like I was like 31 or something when I came across it, and I thought I had developed my, you know, sexual acceptance, but after reading, you know, specifically Lily's Secret Gardens, it really made me realize, why in the world do I still have this stigma of shame attached to sex? I was like, this is ridiculous, unwarranted, and totally unnecessary. So I appreciate webtoons for breaking that down for me.
And I think especially not just sexual like activity, but expressing interest in sex or expressing like lusty thoughts or whatever, like this is something the webtoon community really like blew my mind with, because people are so openly talking about it. Like, right, you're on someone's Patreon and they post like not safe for work content, and then the whole comment section is people just like openly expressing how it makes them feel and that they love it and what they wish to see, you know. And it's just, it's so incredible because it makes you feel so free. And for example, on my Instagram, like I have a private one that I hardly post on anymore since I've had like my 𝗕cie his𝗁𝗃 one, which is, well, basically my webtoon one, let's say, because it's like the non-judgment zone, you know. It feels so free. You don't have to worry about what people are going to say. You can just be like unabashedly yourself, express whatever you're thinking. Like, it's just incredible. And I adore webtoon for that, for the stories, obviously, and like the hard work of authors, but especially the community that it forms around different webtoons. And I mean, like this right now too, you know, it's a part of that. So yeah, I think we're all growing, no matter how like feminist or progressive or open or whatever you were. Yeah, there's like something new always to be found, I think.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, Shirin, like I like that it's like organic and not like those 90 like PSAs where they like look into the camera and they're like, this is why you shouldn't do drugs, kids, like, you know, that kind of like corny stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm gonna quickly grab my charger because my phone died and I can't see the webtoon without it. 1 second.
Okay, so back to Monica. She's like, on the other hand, having partner leave marks where only the two of you can see is even more fun. Then you can tease them by showing them the mark in private. I bet that would drive them wild. And Sam's just like, what?
She does not have, I don't think she's ever thought in that direction.
No.
So
and so we see Bowser and like another dog, and Sam's just like, oh, Monica, I know we don't know each other that well, but can I ask for advice? And she's like, sure, what's up? And Mindy, please your turn.
Yeah, so she's like, well, me and this guy, we're kind of getting close, and this is all new to me. We're not wanting to date or anything, just experience each other, I guess. And Monica's picking up her fingernails, looking at them. And she's like, he told me to take the lead, but I've never done anything like this before. So I'm not sure if I'm doing things right. And she asks, what have you done so far? He's bouncing her heels. Talk sweetly to him and small touches here and there, which is so cute and innocent.
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, it kind of like shows it with like the differences in shoes too.
Oh, yes.
When she says like, we are just trying to experience and not like, do you think it's we, or do you think she's talking from what Charles wants?
I'll let you go first.
Like, it's a genuine question.
I'm like, I think she's like assuming it's a, I don't know. It's weird.
So I definitely had reservations that because Charles is so dominant and because Sam is so inexperienced, that she would be following his lead, where he says, you know, he definitively said, I don't want a relationship. But her response and her subsequent behavior kind of does assure me, like, you know, where she said, I don't know if I want a relationship. I've never thought about it. I've never, you know, pictured myself being married. So I can't relate to that personally because I wanted a relationship since I was like 5, but but I can understand that there are people like that. And she does strike me as someone who, you know, she said she didn't date old college because she was doing a video game. And like somebody who's that dedicated, who like really doesn't notice boys at all till she's like 22, I can understand that she really hasn't given it thought yet and doesn't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Do you think? But
I honestly don't know. I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wasn't sure when I read it, you know. It just kind of stood out to me and it was like, oh, like, is it we or are you saying it's we? You know, I found it hard to kind of gauge where she's coming from for sure.
yeah, I do think that they're both fooling themselves because unless I'm misinterpreting what they mean by just experience each other or just physical, because I see them having very strong emotional feelings towards each other that Charles is for sure in denial of, but maybe even Sam. And I don't know, maybe in their view, it's like, oh, we can do physical and then care slightly about each other, but not, you know, relationship level.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what their thinking is, if they're even thinking it through at all.
Yeah, like that ever works.
So Monica says, what's your end goal? And she said, what do you mean? Are you trying to sleep with him, tease him, torture him? Because if all you want to do is sleep with him, you're putting in a lot more work than necessary. If you want to tease him, you should consider dressing more provocative. If you want to torture him, then there are more entertaining ways to go about it.
And that question made me think, I'm like, so we get Sam's answer, but I wonder what Charles's answer is. Like, what's his end goal with their relationship?
Yeah,
it's interesting, right? Because he's clearly expressing that he doesn't want a relationship with her, but he's also clearly not just trying to sleep with her, right? Because I mean, I suppose you can be respectful and only want sex because he's not like pushing for it really hard, you know. But I think at the same time, he's also like with all of these exercises he's done with her, you know that he's aware of her inner world in a way that he would know what it would do to her if he would just like sleep with her and then kind of drop her. Plus he's much too rational. So I don't know, it's weird. I think Charles doesn't know what he wants and that he's maybe just driven by feelings and like underlying desires, even if he would never admit to that.
Yep, 100%. I think his heart is gravitating towards that warmth and love without acknowledging that he wants it.
We see him struggling.
Yeah.
Like a moth fluttering into the light. And Sam answers basically none of the above. She's like, I guess I want to get close to him, to have a connection. And I suppose I want him to want me. Is that wrong? Oh, and I love Monica's answer. She's like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be desired. I could argue he wants the same and making you take the lead, which is very interesting. You know, I don't know if that came into Sam's mind, but that is an interesting part where, you know, maybe, sorry, Charles, fine. Maybe, you know, there is an element of Charles wanting to be wanted.
Yeah.
I like that. Otherwise, I would say you're on the right track and should keep it up. And Sam's like, so I'm doing anything wrong? Not at all. You'll have him wrapped around your finger in no time. He already is wrapped around your finger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already done.
Sam's like, she bites her lip, looks away, and then says, can I ask you about something else? A personal problem. And Dina is just like pillowed herself onto Sam's chest. They're like tongue. Yeah, let's hear it. Well, like I said, this is all new to me. And while me and this guy were getting close, I got a little too excited, and I because like, you know, I've not heard that phrase before, by the way. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's like,
but I didn't know that you could use it for women, because I mean, obviously it's to do with male
Right.
anatomy.
Yeah, I didn't know you could use it with women either.
Okay.
But
I guess it's one of those things like where guys is now, you know, for both genders. Anywho, so she blushes and she, you know, kind of bring herself to say the words. And Monica's like, I thought you said you had a problem. She's like, it is a problem. It happened so fast. It was really embarrassing. Oh,
so cute. So innocent.
Yeah.
I'm happy she's, you know, able to say this. You know, it's something that's not easy to talk about sexuality. So
Yeah. And she doesn't really know Monica. Like, they don't know each other that well, which might be making it easier, but
yeah,
you know,
Yeah,
being friends with
Oh, sorry. Like, I can't see her having this conversation with like Angela. Like, Angela will be like, "What? What are you talking about? Who's the guy? What? What are you doing? Like, are you safe? Like."
Right.
Yeah. Maybe it's just for lack of not having anyone else. But because I was just thinking, like, sometimes it can be easier with a stranger, but also, I mean, Monica is very heavily linked to Marshall, who lives close to Sam and who she sees all the time. So chances that she would run into her again, you know, so even if she doesn't know her that well, it kind of doesn't really count as a stranger, because it's not like they're going to be out of your life after that conversation. Which really speaks for Monica, like that she's making Sam feel comfortable enough to address these things and like ask these questions, which, man, they're tough.
I think that Sam gets these vibes from Monica that she's very open and accepting about sexuality, whereas a lot of people are not. So I think that's why she feels safe with her to talk about that. So Monica says, I think most women would love to share this problem of yours, but even if it does happen, the fun doesn't have to stop. Yes. Besides, you're still new to this. The more experience you get, the easier it will be for you to control. And if you're really worried about it, just do a little pregame. This sounds like pregame. Yeah, you know, just see to yourself. You should be fine then. Oh, I love it. I like how she needs some extra, you know, like push to understand like Monica's references.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, so what I did, it's not wrong. And Shirin, you can take over.
I wish, but it's not charged.
Oh,
it's taking forever. I'm sorry, it's taking so long. And the annoying thing with the fast passes is that you have to like rebuy it basically if you're going from a different device.
Oh no. Wait, you have to switch the device. Right.
Yeah, like I would have to go on my computer, but then I don't have the fast pass basically.
Right.
So I don't know. I thought it would charge faster, but I guess I really drained it.
Okay. I guess I'll continue if that's okay. So Monica's like, honey, that is the third time you asked me in this conversation if what you did was wrong. Sex isn't about checking boxes or following some kind of protocol. As long as everything is safe and consensual, all you need to worry about is that you both have fun.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Snapping the fingers for Monica.
I know.
Yes, it's awesome. This chapter is like every person should just read this when they're kids. I mean, or whatever, young.
Yeah.
However, whatever age is appropriate. Okay.
Just you have children, you're like bedtime story, out of context, season 3.
Season 3.
This episode. It's like, Mom, what is this? Who's Monica?
Who's Sam?
So my kids are at the age where like anytime Yoel and I hug each other or kiss each other, they're like, ew. And I'm like, would you rather your parents hate each other and fight all day and never hug each other? Like, what would you rather?
Yeah. How old are they again?
10 and 9.
Oh,
you're like, give it a couple of years. You'll see.
Right. My daughter already asked me if she could date boys. I'm like, you don't even have any friends that are boys. Like you don't even interact with boys. Like you're not interested. Like why are you asking if you could date them when you don't even want to hang out with them at all? But okay.
Are you getting the tough questions yet? Are you getting Sam's questions yet?
I told them about sex when they were very young, thinking that it would be helpful to them, and it was not. It was way too young. They were like 5 and 4, 5 and 6 or something. It was very much. I was like, oh, I want it to be normal. I want it to be like something they always know about. I don't want it to be taboo. But they didn't get it. I think it was like weird to them, and I think then they kind of forgot about it for the next couple of years, which they just were not ready. So I learned from that. But yeah, whenever they haven't talked to me about it ever since. I mean, they kind of were awkward about it but after I told them for a bit, but I think they forgot about it. So we'll see when they haven't expressed interest in years. So we'll see what I'm sure they'll ask me at some point soon. So
yeah, I always feel like when I read like this webtoon chapter, for example, it's kind of helpful for the future. You kind of like lock it away. You're like, oh, that's such a good response. It's such a good way to approach it. Like perfect. Hi. So yeah, I really like that. Also, I'm good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
You can take over then.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, here we go.
All right, Monica continues and she says, head up, heels on, tits out, kiddo. You're a grown woman who is allowed to have some fun. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, especially yourself.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And then Sam goes, you've given me a lot to think about, Monica. Thank you for the advice. I didn't really have anyone else to talk about this. Already discussed that one. No problem. And then Monica asks Sam for some advice. She says, can I talk to you about something? Sam's like, oh, sure. Have you seen Marshall? Do you know how he's doing? Which, I don't know. Have they like not seen each other at all? Because they said they wanted to start over, but I didn't think that they
said they wanted a break, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Sam says, yeah, he seems like he's got a lot on his mind. Marshall looks so sad.
I know.
I think that was a kind way of saying it, by the way. Instead of saying he seems depressed and miserable, he was like,
yeah. I figured as much.
Although I kind of wish like she did say like literally what he looked like.
Yeah.
Because I think Monica maybe needs to hear it.
Yeah. I do kind of ship her and Marshall, like Monica and Marshall. I want them to work it out.
Yeah, but I do think that giving him space is a good idea. I think that he needs to work on his issue. Sometimes it's better to do that separately.
Yeah. But yeah, Monica says, could you do me a favor, kiddo? What do you need? Could you keep an eye on him? He's your biggest fanboy since he played your game, and it would be nice if someone checked in on him from time to time. Which, do you feel like this might be like a segue into bringing back Charm?
Yes. And I feel like it might.
No, it's not Charm. It's
Smash.
Smash. Smash.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking it might be a way, might lead to some jealousy drama where, let's say they end up Sam and Marshall end up together, and Monica would be like, that's not what I meant when I said I asked you to keep an eye on him. And Monica feel jealous or backstabbed.
Because I was also thinking if the dogs are maybe like an analogy here. So Sam says, we're not really close. I don't want to bother him. And Bowser pops up and is like shocked. And Monica says, I wouldn't worry about that. He'd probably love to geek out with you. And Sam says, well, okay, I'll keep an eye on him then. Thanks, kiddo. And so she says, I'll keep an eye on him then. And Dina, which we already established is like the Marshall dog, is pressed into her chest. And then we see Bowser with this huge jealousy, what were they called again? Like emoticon behind him, which is like, the Welsh dog, the Charles dog. So I was wondering maybe if that's like a little foreshadowing that there's going to be some jealousy on Charles's part as Sam hangs out with Marshall. I don't know. Just
Mm.
and then Monica says, "Oh, someone isn't too happy. Bowser, what's gotten into you? I think I know what the problem is. You're jealous of Dinah, aren't you?" And Sam says, "Looks like it." Monica says, "Don't want to share your mama? Come here, chunky boy." Oh my God, I love your wrinkles. He's so cute.
He's adorable.
I think he's trying to push her off. There's enough love for both of you, silly boy. And Sam says, "Bowser, be nice."
Speaking of foreshadowing, I'm like, what if there's enough love for both of you? Are we going to do like a polyamory thing? There's enough love for Marshall and Charles.
Oh, that would be like a whole new world in this webtoon.
I bet people are like, yes.
Yeah. It'd be like, I feel like Charles would be immensely unhappy in that, both because he's a control freak and also because like we already established, he and Sam don't have that much in common, which can be okay. But then if there's two people like that, he would just feel left out a lot, I think. But yeah, I mean, we're spending a lot of time on this whole dog issue. That's kind of unnecessary. So that's why I was thinking maybe it's foreshadowing. And then Monica says, "You still have my number, right? If you need more advice, just shoot me a text, okay? Us girls gotta stick together."
Yeah.
Thanks, Monica. I really appreciate it. Oh, and if you're not already, get on the pill. And there's a little speech bubble with blush marks that's like, okay.
Or some other form of birth control. I personally hate the pill because I cannot consistently take it at the same time. So I do not use the pill because it is very, very not in speed with my personality.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I went on it when I was like 15 because I had really, really bad cramps. I had a boyfriend at the time. So they were like, well, you can do painkillers or the pill. And I was like, oh, well, I have a boyfriend, so I'll take the pill. And then I was on it for years and years. And like eventually I think I got tired of having something foreign like control my body. So yeah, I kind of stopped taking it. Just so sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, basically I thought that maybe Monica was like overstepping a bit, telling her this kind of medical decision, like maybe just use contraception, like any kind of contraception. Make sure you're like stocked up on condoms or whatever you're comfortable with. Or she could have said like maybe do some research on contraception. But personally, I definitely don't feel like the pill is like the answer, And I think at least when I was a teenager, it was kind of presented that way. Like that is the contraceptive method.
Yeah, I think the point was use contraception, but yeah, I think you're right. That's just some people just say the pill is a shorthand,
Yeah.
When there's more than one contraceptive method.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on the chapter overall, and what hopes for next chapter?
I miss Monica so much. She's one of like my favorite characters, if not like my favorite character. I'm hoping though that like we get to see her more like her more vulnerable side.
Yeah.
But I also like for next chapter, I want answers to what Charles did. I'm so angry.
Yeah.
We're gonna get strung along. We're gonna have, next chapter will be Vicky and Abe, then there'll be Angela and Link, and then we'll have Marshall. We'll just cycle through everybody before we get back to Charles and Eva.
Oh yeah, I bet you Monica's gonna like string us along. She's like, oh, just wait.
Yeah. I definitely have to make sure I listen to the podcast for our last episode, because sometimes Let's Play has these like moments or conversations that make me extremely uncomfortable, and that Ava, Charles, you have to get your dick wet conversation made me so uncomfortable. Like it was so forward, and so I kind of don't want to return there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I want to know, I guess, what what happened and if he, yeah, if he did anything, but I don't know. I kind of didn't enjoy it very much, and I enjoyed this episode a lot.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I would predict either it's going to be Charles and Ava, or maybe it's going to be Sam checking in on Marshall.
Right. By the way, so speaking of, I did a poll on Instagram. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh my gosh, my phone's losing battery as it's charging, which is obviously not that great. So asking
Intense.
people like, I have to plug it somewhere else. It's not working properly. So I asked people if they thought that they were gonna, like, that Charles was gonna sleep with Ava, and if it was right or wrong, if he would do that. So let me scroll back to see what numbers we got. Okay, so people, in terms of will he or won't he sleep with her, 65% of people thought no, he's not going to do it. 35% yes. And then, would it be okay if he does? 70% said yes, it's okay if he does sleep with her, and 30% said no. So that's interesting.
Wow.
Do you not agree, Krystine?
No.
What do you think?
I don't know. Like, yeah, they're not in a relationship, but like, I kind of feel like it's sort of like a betrayal on Sam's behalf. Like, I don't know. Like, they didn't say they were consensual, but they didn't. I don't know. I'm just mad at Charles right now. Just even like the thought of him like having thoughts about it, like even just like thinking of possibly doing it. I'm like, don't you dare.
But Sam did too.
What,
right?
About other guys?
Like that, wasn't it that episode or that chapter where Marshall is on her balcony?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how far back that is actually.
Oh.
But Marshall was on her balcony, right? And then I don't know, it was really like a random episode where it kind of just almost at the beginning of it was like Sam or Marshall, Charles or Marshall. I was like, where is this coming from? This is so very random. And I don't know. I feel like, yeah, and like she, like, I don't know. I think she does have other thoughts as well. And I think if she were now to check on Marshall and would get some feelings, we wouldn't say like, oh no, like, what about Charles, I think he should know better and think that maybe it would upset her if he did like anything with somebody else. But at the same time, I think that it's perfectly acceptable until they've kind of talked about what's going on.
Yeah, I also have like the mixed feelings. Like, I think like if we're going to talk about within the letter of the law, 100%, like they did not arrange for exclusivity, and like they never said that they wouldn't sleep with other people. So, but outside the letter of the law, like extra legally, I think that emotionally it's probably, like it would wound her. So he should be aware of that, but I wouldn't fault him if he did.
It definitely throw like a monkey wrench in there.
Yeah, I feel like they're not even at the stage yet though where, yeah, they haven't said it, but they're going for regular dates and they're going, they kiss each other every time they see each other and things like that, where, I mean, they literally just met Sam's friends and she did not say like, oh, hey, this is the guy I'm seeing or whatever, so didn't she even say he's her boss? Or
yeah,
she didn't even say friend, right?
Yeah, so I think so.
Like, if I was Charles, I would be like, yeah, there's nothing official about us, like, anywhere. But I hope that he wouldn't.
Yeah, and then there's the whole debate whether his look was anger or lust.
Could be
Which side
both.
are you guys on? The look the glare that he gives Ava at the end.
I think it's like both. I think it's like, you're right, but I'm not gonna admit that you're right.
Yeah, I felt like it was maybe like frustration.
Yeah,
be
a lot of things.
Now I'm kind of like, do it. Let me see what happens.
I just
throw that monkey wrench in there.
Krystine's like, go for
Drama.
it, Charles, go for it. I'm right behind Sam. I'm backing her up.
I'm like, yeah, now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to see that drama. Like,
If
Yeah.
it happens, I'll give you a call. I'll be like, Krystine, did you see? Where's the
It
butt?
happened.
Yeah, I'm down for drama. I like drama. I like tense situations.
Yeah,
Yeah, without them, the story wouldn't be compelling, wouldn't be interesting.
true.
As I always say, make it spicy.
Right. Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on.